Can you hear me now? Go ahead and check that one. Sorry, folks. You can't. No, it's still nothing.
Okay. We can hear you guys now, so start over.
So, hey, hit the button again.
Which one?
The intro. Do it official. Start over.
You guys look so excited. It's still on you too. It's still on there.
Okay, there's no Mike Tippin again. Today it is Peter Dalton because Mike Tippin is out with COVID. So we thought what a perfect time to bring Peter Dalton in on the show. If you guys have ever seen Peter Dalton before out in town, wave to him. No, he was on the show before. We talked a little bit about trapping. He's probably one of the people I know that is most tuned into trapping, like a semi-professional nuisance nuisance trapper. This is their prime season, so we got him on here to discuss some of that stuff. It's the 30th of January. Today is our 23rd episode. Wow, that's crazy, 23rd episode. So we were going to go over some other stuff with the duck hunting and waterfowl hunting that we talked about, but since Mike isn't here and he had been out there hunting, we thought what a perfect time to bring Peter on because he was available to talk about some of the trapping going on. So we had a couple things we discussed a little bit beforehand that we'll get into. If you were watching earlier, we didn't have sound. Sound's back. Just repeating basically everything that we said before. If for some reason we had sound before and you hear it again, then that's just really weird. So let's go ahead and start where we were. You want to talk about what you're getting into right now in the trapping world?
Yeah, so right now, just, like you said, it's prime season. Everything in Virginia is in, land is in, water's in, so you can trap pretty much anything. I'm running 2 farms right now. So one is a farm very close to me, my neighbor's farm, and then the other one is a farm right down the road. And that particular gentleman has a lot of cattle, a lot of sheep. So it's really about thinning the predator population and trying to put some fur in the shed right now.
So with those 2 that you're farming out there right now, what are you aiming for and what are you actually getting right now?
So my aim is always coyotes. We don't have a huge population, in Loudon, but it is growing. I've had them on cameras all summer. Actually, this summer I did a little bit of trapping and caught 2. So it seems like they're kind of dispersing now. So I've really just been tearing up the red fox. We have a ton of red fox here in Loudon. So red fox, coon, skunk, possum. We affectionately call the possums and the coons trash critters just because whenever it warms up, it seems like they come out of the woodwork, they plug up all your sets, and then you don't catch, the fox or the coyote or the bobcat that you want to.
So, is there an overabundance of fox, or is it? So, I don't want to say that because I had to word that correctly. I don't want to make it sound like they're like a nuisance.
Right.
I mean, they can be a nuisance, but I got to imagine there's not a lot of natural predators for them in general.
No, coyotes will kill red fox just because it's a food competition thing. It's a territory thing. So, down south, you look at states like Alabama, Georgia, Texas, the coyotes have pretty much wiped out the red fox population. They're just not as prevalent,
Oh, really?
Gray fox can climb trees. They can get away from the coyote, but the fox really can't. So, I've found fox, dead in the woods from coyote. I've also trapped, a red fox and had coyotes come and kill it that night. So coyotes hate red fox. So that's pretty much their only natural predator, I would say.
See, I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. Like, I think the first time I ever saw a coyote, where was I at? I was driving to work. It was real early in the morning, and I was going from Route 7 to 28 up by like Dulles Town Center.
Yeah.
And I came there ramp, and I was like, wow, that's a really big fox walking across the road. Because it looked like a dog, didn't look like a fox, but just like a really big fox. And the color, of course, was a little different. And I looked over, and I was like, and that's when I realized it was a coyote. Since then, no, that was years ago. Now, since then, I've seen a lot more. See a lot
Right.
more carcasses of them.
Yep.
A lot of times where I thought they were dogs. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's somebody's dog.
Yep.
And then we got up on it, and I'm like, oh, that's not a dog. That's a, that's a really big coyote. So what kind of, so when you talk about hunting for the foxes for these guys, what's your main concern that people have with the foxes? Like, what are they doing as far as destruction property wise?
Yeah, a lot of it's just poultry. Like the one gentleman, he has, I don't know how many chickens. And they're getting in, they're taking his chickens, which cuts in on the egg production. They have a farm stand, so that kind of cuts into that. Part of it is too. They'll take out turkeys, ground nesting birds, that type of a thing. They do take out fawns. A red fox will take out a fawn if they're hungry enough. A lot of people don't believe that, but it's proven. It's on video. I've seen multiple videos on YouTube of red fox attacking fawns. So they're not going to do it as much as like a coyote would per se, but the threat is there, obviously. So that's kind of I would say that's that's the danger, if you will, or that's why people want them gone.
No, that's pretty neat. Because I know that we talk a lot about, and we've talked about this before. People just have this wrong assumption about, trapping in general. They think it's this terrible blood sport kind of thing,
Right.
and it really turns out that it's not. It's not. You're not just getting. You're not laying down a net and pulling all these animals and just slaying them.
Right.
Because it's first of all, it's not as easy as it seems to be, and it's much more difficult. And you're only targeting certain things, and the traps aren't. Like when we see those cartoons, and there's that giant bear trap.
Fox and the
this little
Hound.
thing comes through and it stomps on them. I don't even see those kind of traps at all. I've never ever seen even a leg trap like that was sharp
Yeah.
with edges. So I don't know if those did exist back in the day or if they do, or that's just something that was made that way. So that's one of those things that we get that negative repercussion from. The one thing that I did want to ask you though, we're talking about the trapping right now, is we had a pretty fairly warm winter so far. We had a little freeze in the spring at the beginning, but then it didn't really stay that much. Now today it's more like 6 degrees.
Right.
But we had those days where it was in the single digits.
Right.
Everything was ice and it was solid and it was cold.
Yep.
Is that really drive up a difference in the trapping game at that point, or are they out more because they're trying to find food? Is it harder to trap because they're not out as much? Is I assume the ice coat stuff and gives you all kinds of problems.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's one of those things where that time of year is counterproductive or more productive, or just if you can touch base on that.
Yeah, sure. So the colder it gets, the hungrier they are, the more they'll move. So it definitely would drive up. I would say they're going to be looking for food. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be running around, and it can be the most productive time to trap. It can also be the most challenging because you have, like you said, you have the rain. Like we got 2.5 inches of rain, and then it dropped like 40 degrees. So all that rain coming down, and a lot of times when you're setting your trap, you dig a bed out, right, and you set the trap in the bed. And usually you want the trap lower than like the ground around you because they like to kind of step down. And there's even a set called a step down dirt hole where, you put the dirt hole, you put the bait in the hole, and guys will dig a trench or like a shallow place just for them to step down and put their foot. Well, you get all that water in there and then it freezes, your trap isn't going to go off, right? So that's part of the challenge where you need to, if you can keep your sets working, so guys have different philosophies. Some guys use like peat moss. That helps, mitigate moisture. The best thing is wax dirt. So basically you take dirt and you take wax, you put it into a crock pot or like a cement mixer, you heat it up, turns it into wax dirt, and it sheds the water, and then your trap can keep working. And if your traps are working, you're going to pick up a lot more animals.
Well, that's a lot more technical stuff than I thought there was. I never really thought about essentially like waterproofing traps.
Yeah, you have to. Any moisture, it'll freeze that trap to the ground, and if they step on it, the pan won't drop, or if the pan drops, the jaws won't come up because they're frozen to the ground, and then they'll walk all over your set. They'll take the bait, and then they'll walk away. So
I saw a show, they were, I guess in Alaska or somewhere up in the north, and they were catching some kind of weasel. I don't know what it was, but they would catch them, and they would die in the traps, and they would pull them, and they were frozen solid, like a hunk of wood.
Right.
And I thought, wow, that just seems so crazy. But I guess if you did it out here when it was a couple degrees, I mean, they're gonna freeze pretty solid when they die.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Like how hard they would get when they were out there. That's really just the point. But I just remember thinking it was a weird thing to me. Just how quickly that goes. So with that being said, as far as the weather changing everything, is that your most opportune time of the year to go when it's cold? So like as a trap, so like yeah, everybody's have the different things. You know, like watermen when they go out to get not watermen, but like waterfowl hunters. Oh, I like when it's raining and it's snowing and it's nasty, and then you have your deer hunters. I like it to be right, you know, after that first freeze and so on and so forth.
Right.
Is there that season that's the opportune time to be trapping? I assume you trap all year.
Yeah, pretty much all year. But like, yeah, I would say when it's dry and cold, that's like the best time, you know, because they're going to be hungry and they're going to be moving. You know, if you're having this like downpour, or even if you get like a ton of snow, like the first 2 days they may hole up and they're not going to do much. After that, they'll start moving. But if it's dry and it's cold, like that's to me that's like the perfect time. Like you want to have as many sets out there. You want to have the sets working. Because you're going to pick up, you know, a ton. And same thing, kind of like deer hunting. Like they'll move before or after a front. So if you know, but that's one of those things where like I knew a lot of guys when we got this 2.5 inches of rain coming in, they went and snapped their traps or they pulled their traps. And I'd been really working on weatherproofing my sets this year. I struggled a lot with that over the past years. And that night I caught 3 fox. So if you can keep them working during the inclement weather, I feel like that's really when you're going to have the best shot.
So I gotta assume that if it's snow, it gets to a certain level. It's
Yeah.
over, right? I mean, everything's just covered. And there's nothing to do.
That's right. I mean, when it gets to that, as long as the bed of the trap is weatherproofed, you can go in and then, you know, I know guys, they'll take like a broom or a shovel and they'll just shovel off like a little area and they'll turn it into like basically a dirt hole set. Maybe they'll sprinkle some dirt. But if you have brown dirt on top of white snow, any predator is going to be visually attracted to that because they're going to think, oh, a coyote was here, or a fox hid this piece of meat. I'm going to come over and investigate what it is and maybe steal it for myself. You know, it's all big game to them. They're just thieves. And so if they have like a rabbit in their mouth and they're running along and they see this dirt hole with a piece of meat, they'll dig it up, take the piece of meat, take it out of that hole, and go hide it somewhere else. Then they'll pick up the rabbit and they'll keep moving on down the line. It's just a big game to them half the time. So if you can get that visual attractant with that dirt hole or whatever, if they're coming along, you still might be able to snag them as long as your set's, working.
So it's interesting you say that because I noticed something that we had, by the way, I'm coughing still from COVID, from since before like Thanksgiving. So we have a couple dogs. Moose is not well. He doesn't do anything. We have this terrier, and she will go out and she fights these fox all the time. And I don't mean like she physically like fights them, but they have like these standoffs. And you'll call her, she won't come, she won't come, she won't come. And you'll walk out in the field, and she's down, head low, bombs up, and she's 2 feet away from a fox, and they're staring each other down. And the fox has something. It's an animal or a piece of something or the other. And they're just staring at each other. And then the fox backs down, and then throughout the week, like she'll just bring home random stuff. So she'll bring home like a leg of a deer, or she'll bring home these things. And I never was realizing where they were coming from. And so you just said that I put 2 and 2 together. If those foxes grab whatever random thing it is to go hide it, she runs into him in the in-between. They just bail because they don't want to fight her. That's where she's getting all this random stuff from.
It is.
It's really interesting. I never thought that because they're going miles around searching, right?
They are. Yeah, they'll go miles around. And foxes, they steal everything. So I had to trap a golf course, and they were actually stealing the golfers' balls. Like the golfers would hit the ball, it'd land on the course, and a fox would run out, grab the ball, and run off with it. And they were actually stealing people's shoes in the neighborhood around the course, and they were taking the shoes. And people, the golf course manager told me they actually called the cops because they thought somebody was going around stealing people's stuff off of their porches, and it was actually foxes stealing people's shoes and like dragging them onto the golf course. They'll steal dog toys. I mean, it's a big game to them, but they'll pretty much steal anything.
Just for sport.
Yeah, they'll just steal it. Yep.
That's funny. I never would have thought about that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of their nature.
Right. Yep.
They're out there thieving around, and
Yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like foxes are very like playful, but they'll just steal stuff.
Well, so when Moose was really, really little, there was a juvenile fox. I don't know how old it was, but it was obviously it was out. It was really dark. So at first I thought it was another dog, and he was running around the yard with it, and I thought it was our small dog. And I was like, "Come over here," and I looked at the small dogs next to me. I was like, "It's a fox. He's running around the yard with a fox." So we had a friend that's a vet, and I told him a story. I said, "Look, I don't want to sound crazy. Like, maybe I can believe this. The dog was playing with a fox." And he's like, "Yeah, it happens all the time." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "But you really shouldn't let them be near each other because they're young, vaccination
Right.
issues, and once it gets a certain age, that fox won't go to the dog anymore.
Right.
But I just thought that was so weird that it was that common that they were that interested in things that they do that.
Yeah.
I just never would have crossed my mind.
Fox and the Hound, man.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Yeah, I guess it's that old of a story because we have a lot of them. We have a lot of foxes around.
Yeah.
We have like weird things in the property. Like when we first moved in, we'd have a lot of fox. We had a bunch of skunks. Like a good amount of skunks. Like you could go out at night, like in the backfield, or the backfield, the front field, and you see like 3 different skunks wandering around. And it was really neat because they weren't like traditional skunks. They had like those weird patterns on them.
That's cool.
They're just really neat looking skunks. They didn't care about anything. You'd be out there in the field with a flashlight, they'd walk right up to you.
Yeah.
Fearless. And I understand why. I didn't realize they were that weasel family. So they're monsters.
Right.
They don't care about anything. And they were around for a long time. And at that point, we had coyotes. And the coyotes would come and go. Here and there, we'd see them. We got Moose. He started being around. The coyotes left. They never came back. I haven't seen a coyote since he came around. I don't know if it's a scent thing. I don't know what it is. Because the other 2 dogs were females. He's the only male. So we got him. They stopped coming around. And then he got sprayed by a skunk. He just couldn't leave it alone. He kept following it. And it sprayed him in the face a couple times. And then after that, they were all gone.
Interesting.
And then the fox came in. And now we have a bunch of fox. But we have a ton of rabbits. We don't have any squirrels. But every so often we'll get a random squirrel comes through. But it's weird because there's not like an even balance of things. Our property's always weird stuff, And then there's groundhogs, but the neighbors got a runway, so he's constantly trying to kill the groundhogs.
Oh, gotcha.
Because they were actually digging up one of the buildings next to us. They were under the foundation.
Oh, wow.
And they were literally ripping it up, and like pieces of the foundation were like falling in. It was like a hangar. It wasn't like the best built foundation.
I'm poisoned on groundhogs. You should give him my number.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, if you want to go get some groundhogs, there's plenty over there. No, I would be happy with them to be gone because one of the dogs wound up dragging a dead groundhog back. Oh my god, that smells so bad.
Yeah.
Myself like that.
Yep.
Is everything okay?
They're just a little quiet.
Okay. So what's the craziest thing you caught this year? Any good stories?
Yeah, so I had to do a job for a gentleman who had a horse barn, and he told me he had skunks were getting in the horse barn, and they were spraying all the horses. It was just crazy. So I went there, and I caught one, just your typical skunk, black and white skunk. And I had to leave because I had to go out of town. So I pulled all the traps, and I told him I'd come back. And I came back and reset. And the first night, I caught a double, two cages basically right next to each other of like 2 basically all white skunks, like just gorgeous skunks. So
The
yeah,
ones we
that
had
was
were
pretty cool.
friendly.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, really, really cool. They weren't black and white. They were just like more white than anything else.
Yeah, that's what these were.
Through them, and there was like this brindle pattern through them.
That's cool.
And like I said, they didn't care. Walk right up to you.
Yeah, I've had that happen before too. Just going through the woods and stuff, they just don't care. And a lot of people think, because they're like, how do you handle a skunk? I've never been sprayed, but I think the key is to move like slow. Don't be threatening because they don't want to spray you. Because once they spray you, they can't spray you for like another, I think it's like 2 days or something. And that's like their only defense mechanism. I mean, they have claws and teeth and stuff, because like if you look at like a badger, you look at something, they kind of have that face and that teeth and stuff.
Well, they're all the same family.
Right, they are.
I can't remember what it's called right now. I don't remember. Otters, weasels, Tasmanian. All those things. They're all like the same.
Yeah,
family.
they have
Otters.
the same. They have the same characteristics, but like, yeah, they don't really want to spray you. So I've picked skunks up, put them in the back of the truck. I've had no issue. A lot of times I'll cover them with a tarp, and then it's dark and they feel safe. And that way, if for some reason they do spray, because I have spray-proof traps. It's like a tube. They go in. They can't lift their tail, so they can't spray you. But they never seem to go in those. They always seem to go in like your typical have-heart trap. And I have caught them in the spray-proof trap before, but 9 times out of 10, if you have a spray-proof trap and you have one like normal trap, they're going to go in the normal trap for some reason. It's just bad luck.
I've heard people say that they like rip up like vegetables and stuff, plants and gardens.
Yeah, they're diggers. They're big diggers. Like they'll tunnel like groundhogs. They'll dig underneath. I mean, you look at their front claws, like they're made for digging. They'll tear up grass looking for grubs and everything. Like if you come out and your lawn is tore up, it's probably a skunk.
I don't think people realize what they are.
Yeah.
Because they're so furry, you think it's like this skunk's its own animal. It's really not. It's just a giant weasel.
Right.
It sprays. I mean, they're pretty.
Yeah.
pretty ferocious looking things when you see them.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And like I said, I've never seen one that was afraid. It just
Yeah.
walked right up next to me, walked by. I think they're more curious than anything. Like they come
Yeah.
up to you on purpose, and you're like, "What is this thing doing?"
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they don't really seem to have too much fear.
No.
Got any more dogs lately?
No, no dogs, thankfully, but I haven't been on any golf courses, so kind of took care of that problem. So that's always a good thing.
You ever caught a bird?
I've caught turkeys before. Yeah, they stepped in it, whether it was, because a lot of times you're making, like if you make a dirt hole, there's all this fresh dirt, and that attracts all kinds of things. That attracts deer, obviously, because it looks like a scrape, especially if you put, if you use, coyote urine or fox urine on your set to, attract, because obviously, a dog will pee over another dog, just like a scent post, anything. So, if you use urine, the salt in the urine, the deer will come over, they'll step in the trap and set it off. But I've caught turkey before, other birds, I've caught a turkey vulture. You just turn them loose, they're fine. But
I knew a guy that caught a blue herring.
Oh, okay, I believe it.
They had
Yeah.
him set up next to a stream.
Okay.
I caught him.
Yeah.
And he said that thing messed him up.
I believe
He was
it.
flocking everywhere. And
Yeah,
freaking
birds scare me. I would rather release a raccoon or a fox from a trap than a bird because they got the talons, they got their beak, and they're all flapping and freaking out at you. I usually just try to pin them down with get a big blanket and kind of just cover them up and pin them down, and then you can release them.
we caught an owl one time.
An owl.
Mm-hmm. So I was driving home years ago. We just got in high school. I think I was in high school, really young. My dad had a Tahoe. We were driving back road. On the back seat, they were coming back from some family event. And I heard a thump. My dad's like, "Oh man, I just hit a turkey." It was a really late night. I was like, "Sorry, what?" He goes, "Yeah, I hit a turkey in my window." I said, "It's too late at night for a window. It's too late at night for a turkey to be flying. It's roosting by now."
Right.
I was like, "You didn't hit a turkey." He's like, "I'm telling you, you hit a turkey." I said, "Turn around. You see what you hit? I'm curious." It's 2 lane road. You know, middle of nowhere. Let's just go back and see. So we turn around. We drive back with the flashlight. There's something in the ditch. It might be a turkey. So I jump out and I go over there and it's owl.
Mm.
And I was like, "Oh, you hit an owl." And I'm looking at him. And the owl was out cold. But he was breathing. And by his beak right here, it's blood coming down. So I said, "Shit, let's grab him. Nobody kills him." Dad's like, "You're crazy." And I was. It was probably the dumbest thing we ever could have done. And I had this big wool coat. I grabbed the wool coat. And I had a set of wire for a headphones.
Mm-hmm.
And I took his talons. And I had gone to school for environmental science, so I thought I knew what I was doing. I tried birds. I don't know what I thought, but so we tied the talons up as best we could, and then we took this big wool coat, and his wings were tucked, and he was out. And I wrapped it around him like this, and then wrapped it around him like this, cocooned him, and then put him in my lap, and he was out. So my dad calls some numbers on the phone, and they're like, "Excuse me, the owl's in the car. Get that bird out of your car." And my dad's like, "Oh, you should get out of the car." I'm like, "We're fine." Nobody wants to help us. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? Middle of the night, not gonna happen.
Right.
So all of a sudden we're driving home, and he wakes up, and he's making this crackling noise. His beak. I was like, "Oh my god, this thing!" And I can feel him trying to press his wings open, but he's pretty chill. He's not doing much.
Right.
So we got back to the house, put him on the ground, had a big welding glove. I'd seen TV.
Right.
Put him down. He stood up, pushed the glove under. He stood on the glove.
Wow.
Held him. Had a big computer box. Put him in the computer box. Shut the lid. Left him there overnight. Next day, let him stay in the box. That night we opened it up. He flew in a tree, hung around for a week. It was the nicest thing ever. Wasn't aggressive, nothing. Kind of.
That's cool.
True story. See, it goes back to sound like a fake Mark story. 3 years later, I come home from work at midnight. It's really late. I'm walking down the driveway, and I hear this whoosh come by. This owl comes and lands in a tree. It's 7 feet tall in the front yard and looks at me. And I'm pretty damn sure it was the same owl. Pretty cool. They always say that they come back,
That's cool.
but no, pretty neat.
That is neat.
Yeah, that's about the only bird I ever caught. That's what the only thing. Well, no, we caught a hawk one time too. Little red tail fell out of the nest, and the cat had messed it up. And we found it, took it for the cat. But he wound up getting DNR took him.
Yeah.
Wound up using him for some
Yeah, like a rehabilitation
program,
wildlife.
teach kids
show
stuff.
that- yeah,
he could
that's
never,
cool.
Never fly again or anything like
Right.
that. But I tell you what, they're neat. The birds are neat.
Yeah.
I know. Has some really good friends. Well, I know friends too, but they have a bird sanctuary. in
Oh,
Maryland.
cool. Okay.
So she used to be a rehabist for wildlife.
Oh, nice.
So she had her license in Maryland to do all that kind of stuff. So if somebody had animals, they bring it to her.
Right.
She doesn't do it anymore, but she's still what do they call it, a falcon that hunts with them.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep.
And then she still has a lot of birds that she had, rehabilitated.
Oh, okay.
So over there they have this big bird sanctuary, and she's got red tails and kestrels and owls. She's an eagle owl. seen one of those.
No,
Huge. It's
that's
like the biggest
cool.
owl as this. Just all these crazy birds are praying all over the place. Really, 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 really cool.
My buddy has a, I don't know what it is. It's like a big falcon, but he hunts with it. He has a dog, and he sends the bird up, and the dog will like tree the squirrel, and the hawk comes in and takes out the squirrel. Yeah, he's big into it. It's really cool. I've never been with him, but out there to see. But oh yeah, look at that.
That's now.
That's cool, man.
Dad just sent me that because he was watching Huckhouse. Still comes around.
That's funny. Was he got a squirrel in his talons in the photo?
Yes.
That's cool.
Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes when I'm running the trap line early in the morning, I see owls, like they're just chilling on a fence post. And when I would predator hunt, before I got into trapping, I would have like the Fox Pro with the decoy going. Every night, man, the owls would come in, and sometimes they'd actually grab the decoy and fly off.
Just wreck the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what we're talking about. We talked right before we started. Near the house, there's a bunch of round bales, big round bales.
Oh, yep.
And the fox sleeping on the round bales.
Yep.
And how I thought that was really, really neat, but you're saying that's really common.
Yeah, I mean, I think they like to go up on there so they can get a better point of view. You know, a lot of times when I'm trapping a big field, it's tough to figure out like where you're going to put it. So I'll put a set, you know, like at this farm I'm trapping now, there's this field and there was just like the highest point. So I picked the highest point, put a trap in there, some bait and lure. Next day, had a red fox. I think it's just they're attracted to those high points so they can see. Same thing with a round bale. Like it gives them another 4 or 5 feet, you know, whatever of visibility. They can hop up there, look around. You know, and if you watch, you know, like Fox Pro Fur Takers or any of the predator hunting shows, like coyotes are always hopping up on those round bales so they can see, you know, the decoy or where the noise is coming from, and then they wind up getting shot. But
Well, because the neighborhood said something too. Like, oh yeah, there's a fox that sleeps in the round bale up there. There's just a fox in the round bale. We looked at it, but never saw it. The other day I saw it. Sure enough, it was laid down. I never saw it when Pete saw it. Kind of look around and go back down. I was like, wow, that's really neat that's up there.
yeah,
But I mean, it makes sense if I was out looking for stuff. Why not get the high ground?
right.
So I mean, especially somewhere that's really flat in the middle of the field, and they can't tell you're up there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Oh, that's pretty neat. We used to watch the fox in our yard chase like the young turkey around because they'd come through the field and they'd start flapping out of the weeds, and you see the fox group chasing after them.
Yep.
I never saw any of the fox actually get them. You know, a lot of turkey on the property. Tons of turkey.
That's cool. That's good.
I assume that's probably a sign that there's not that many predators out there if they're not wrecking all the eggs all the time.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, that's one of the big things I try to do too is target like raccoon. You know, I'm not targeting them as much this winter. I mean, I've caught a few, but I do have quite a few. It's a dog-proof trap, so it literally just targets a raccoon, so no dog or cat or anything can get their paw in there. And it's like a tube, and you put bait down in it, and the raccoon reaches down in there, and it's a pull-only lever, so they have to pull the lever, and then they get caught. But
Oh, that's what stops them from getting the cats and stuff.
yeah,
Okay.
now not to say that you can't, because there's like it's an unofficial club, but guys catch foxes in them. So like I haven't caught one yet, but they say like if you catch a fox in a dog-proof, like you're in this club. It's just
Well, I guess
funny,
like
but-
anything else, we're going to be hanging around.
Yeah, I mean it's bound to happen, but yeah, I'm really gonna try to target them like in the spring before before turkey season. They say that's the best time to go after them because obviously you're eliminating all of the egg eaters right before the hens are gonna hatch. You know their eggs.
So what's the like a raccoon for example? Do they have a mating season? Is it all year? Do they do it? You know?
Yeah, no, they have a mating season. I mean, typically I believe it's around like January. Now you're testing my like animal knowledge, but I think I know fox and coyote it's around January. I think coons around the same time. You know that January February time frame is all mating season, and when you're trapping then. A lot of times they're not interested in a piece of bait in a hole, so urine or gland lure, scent post, that type of a thing will really like draw them in. So yeah, but they definitely do. You'll catch the big males. They call them like ridge runners, where they're just running from den tree to den tree trying to find females. So there's
Well, the
definitely
reason I
mating
was
season.
wondering was when the time of the year comes around, and like I still remember, I don't know when we were driving on the road, this fox runs out, and a whole bunch of little, not fox, sorry, raccoon runs out, and a bunch of little raccoonlets, I don't know what they're called, ran out behind it, and I was just thinking to myself now, if you were trapping, and you call it a raccoon, and it had a bunch of little babies all humming around it when you got there. What do you do?
I mean, at this point, you're not going to have like baby raccoons running around. They're all going to be, I mean, even if they're 1 year old, they're going to be, you know, full grown. So that's why, like, if you are coon trapping, like, you want a gang set. Like, you want, because coons, they'll like run together, 3, 4, 5 raccoons, whatever. So, like, you want to have, you know, like, if you're in a, you know, say you're trapping a stream, you want to go down the stream and just put them all, you know, close enough to where you can catch the group, but not close enough where they could get into each other, obviously. But yeah, you can catch multiple coons at the same spot, you know. Same thing's true for foxes too, honestly. Like, if a place is good for like one trap, it's usually good for two. And then they say if it's good for two, it could be good for three, blah blah blah. So, you know, but you know, you definitely want to set two, especially because, like, for example, with the warm weather, possum comes along, plugs up one set. If you only set one trap, coyote comes along, maybe he'll kill your possum, maybe he won't, but you're dead in the water. Whereas if you have two, you could catch the possum and you could catch the coyote. So
Do coyotes eat possum?
I'm sure they would. I mean, they probably eat anything.
I'm wondering. I've never actually heard of like anything targeting possums.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they saw it, like, I actually think I just saw a trail cam video of like a possum and a coyote facing off, and the coyote just decimated it. I wouldn't say it's something that they would target. You know, like, they're more like rabbits, and you know, but they'll eat. I mean,
Well, I never realized how much of a coward possum is. Like, he doesn't want to bite you. Like, he just wants to leave.
Oh yeah, they play dead. Whenever I catch them, you can release them from the trap. You can pick them up, hold them by the tail. They'll just hang out, play dead. You know, but I kill everyone I see just because they're egg eaters too. There's this whole myth about they eat ticks, and it drives me insane.
Oh, really? It's not true.
No, I mean,
oh, we got to get Anna. Anna's been telling me that story for my whole life.
So they eat ticks, but they'll only eat the ticks that are on their bodies, like groom themselves. They don't actively go out and eat ticks. But like if you take a wild turkey, for example, they will actively seek ticks, and they're, you know, whether the numbers are true or not, but they'll say like a wild turkey will eat anywhere from like 50 to 70,000 ticks, you know, a year or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, what would you rather have? Like a possum that's kind of disease carrying might eat a few ticks off its body throughout the year, but if it gets into a turkey nest, it's going to wipe out a whole bunch of turkeys. Or if you kill the possum and the turkey nest survives, now you have a whole flock of turkeys out there crushing ticks all year long. Like, it makes no sense. Whenever somebody releases a possum, I'm like, why?
So when they talk about possums, they're talking about rabies.
Yeah.
They say their body temperature's not hot enough for rabies. Usually,
Yeah, that's
but
correct.
they can.
Yeah, that's correct. You know, they're not really, you know, like a raccoon or a skunk or a fox. They're more like rabies vector, you know, species. You know, a possum, it's not. But like each animal.
Well, I was going to say is what do they carry?
So possums carry EPM,
Okay.
and that's, I don't know the scientific. It's a super long word. Google it, you know. But basically, their feces can get into like water and food, and if a horse gets it, it's like a neurological disease,
Oh, really?
and the horse's nervous system shuts down, and it's no good. So like when I was trapping that horse barn for that guy with the skunks, I got into a few possums, and he was like, "Yeah, they're gone too."
Okay, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they'll mess a horse up quick.
So when you're out there getting raccoons, you're probably not catching any with rabies, are you? Because they're not hunting food; they're just zombies.
Yeah,
right?
they would be. Yeah, I mean, you might catch one. I've never caught a raccoon with rabies. I've caught plenty of animals with mange, but I've never caught one with rabies.
It's amazing how bad the mange gets. I've seen some
Oh,
pictures.
it's bad.
Like you were talking about the one fox that looked like a chupacabra.
Yeah, it's coyote. But yeah,
I'm sorry,
there's
yeah.
a group of them. So like where my farm is, there's a road, and then there's a giant field, and there's a farm behind that field. And I caught a coyote back there. It's kind of a pain to get back into. I have to like walk super long, and I'm just not doing that right now. But like, so I caught one back there that was it was disgusting. Like, it's on my Instagram, you'll see it. It's just terrible looking. And then I had two. I do have game cameras back there because I am going to get back into trapping back there soon. And there's two of them. One, the tail there's no fur on the tail. The one, it's like halfway because it usually starts on the tail. The third one, chupacabra status, like no fur. It's disgusting
Is it
looking.
black?
It's like a pinkish gray, like almost looks like a baby animal when it comes out, you know, just naked, like it has no fur, but just obviously full grown.
I saw
looks
some of the
gross.
pictures where they were confusing things with chupacabras like down south.
Yeah, yeah.
And they'd have like these dogs, some kind of wild dog, and it was like had like a black skin to it.
Yeah,
so, like,
it's kind of like
when
that.
the fur was gone, it was like undeniable what the hell it was. And
Yeah.
of course, it walked me. It's all sickly and really really bad. Well,
Right.
that was because I remember the guys that would pay for rabbit furs years ago. They only wanted them in the winter. They never wanted them in the summer because they were just so full of
ticks and everything.
mange
Yeah.
and all messed up and
Yeah.
everything. I mean, nothing comes out of the woods that doesn't have some kind of insects on it.
Yeah,
That was
especially in
even-
the summer. Like the fleas, they're all holed up together. That's the nice thing about the winter. I mean, you get those warm days and stuff, but usually the fur is prime. There's less ticks, there's less fleas, there's, you don't have to worry about poison ivy, the whole, just all that.
Well, that owl that we were talking about before, I mean, it had some kind of mites on it.
Oh, okay,
That you could see moving. Now, they didn't affect me. I was so concerned after I was like, these things will be all over me.
Right.
I guess they didn't go to humans. But anything that lives out there just gets
Yeah,
on
they
there.
just
I mean,
get it.
just-
Yeah.
There's so much stuff out there. So that's why I get, in the wintertime, it's so much better. You don't have to worry about it.
100%.
Because even the deer, you'll see sometimes they're just covered in.
Yeah.
You'll see the pictures where things just have ticks all
Yeah, in the summer they look awful. Yeah,
Ugh. Yeah, it's bad.
I know.
Well, that's like when they put all the stuff in the horses to keep the flies away.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, because they're all over the place. Yeah, that's not. Ugh, not for me. I am not a fan of ticks.
No, me either.
No. You ever get it's the pupal state of the harvest mite. Chiggers.
Oh, I have got chiggers before. Yes, I got tore up. So I got this property. It was a deer property. It was in Fairfax, and I was really hurting for spots at the time. So me and a buddy, we got permission, and we went back in there, and the weeds were like waist high, and we were wearing boots and pants. Didn't matter, man. We got home. I was tore up, and I called my buddy, and I'm like, he was like, I was just about to call you and ask you if you had gotten the chiggers, and I was like, yeah, we were both just. I mean, they tore me up. It was terrible.
So growing up, I'm really trying not to cough. Growing up in Southern Maryland, I guess we didn't have chiggers.
Mm.
Maybe geologically, where we were, they weren't chiggers.
Yeah.
I used to walk through tall grass, walk through everything, never got them.
Hmm.
Started hunting up here, started going through tall grass and stuff, fishing. I couldn't fish all the time.
Yeah.
Anywhere your skin was touching fabric.
Yeah.
Your sock lines, your waistline.
Yeah.
Things like I'd wear shorts and I wouldn't get them where my legs were open.
Right.
I'd only get them in spots where they burrowed.
Right.
And they were so bad. I found though that for the most part, if I went out there, if I got home and the first thing I did was shower,
Yep.
I didn't get them.
Yeah.
But if I waited too long or something, I think because what they were saying is that it's not.
It's when not when they burrow. It's when they come back out. That's right.
So they were saying our immune system is so good to destroy them. They burrow in, they make a tube, and then they're dead. And the irritation from the tube.
That's
is what you're
right.
getting.
Yeah.
So it seemed like if I showered really, really quick,
Yeah.
it was good to go. Because there's some place out there where you catch like some 5-pound bass. You had to walk through like 6-foot weeds.
Yeah.
What did I care? I was going to catch these bass.
Right.
The first time I got chiggers, the first time I ever got chiggers, I was putting out deer stands.
Okay.
Whew, I got back, I couldn't stop. I was like bleeding.
Yeah.
itching.
Oh,
like,
I
what
know,
is wrong?
man. Yep.
And the guys were like, but you know what the weirdest part about that too is it's in that tall grass.
Yep.
You and I could walk through that grass. I could get it, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
Or vice versa sometimes.
Yeah.
Or both get it.
Right.
And sometimes it's just like a little
Just a little patch
little
of them.
clusters of them.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of the worst. I got bit by a spider not last summer, the summer before on my ankle. Same thing, fishing, same place. At least we think it was a spider. So all of a sudden my leg just won't heal.
Mm.
Like it's just getting worse. Like the wound is starting to get a little gross. So I was like, okay, well, let me see what it is. So I go to the doctor, and I'm like, we'll go to the ER. I'm like, hey, I don't know what's going on. Staph infection. He's like, I don't think it's a staph infection. It's infected, definitely infected. I think it's a staph infection. Here's an antibiotic, and here's a topical to put on there. And I said, okay, cool, that's fine. So it's probably about that big, the size. About, I don't know, eighth of an inch hole. And it's just getting worse and worse. And I'm just, every time with this topical stuff on, it starts to like break down.
Mm.
Like the scab goes away and like this pus comes out. The topical stuff's not working. I'm not using it. So
Right.
next thing I know, I've run out of antibiotics. It gets a little better, but every time we get a little better, something would happen. I'd rub it up against something and make it worse, or go out and sweat all day and come back and it was bad. So finally, like 4 months of this thing not go away. So I go back to the doctor, and the doctor's like, okay, here's some more antibiotics. try the topical again. So take the antibiotic, I'll take the topical. He's like, take the topical. I put it on there, and like this, it's like pussy. Like it's like ejecting fluid for like a week, but it's so gross. I have to like cover it, hide it, because it's just like the worst thing ever.
Right.
And then finally, it just does nothing. It goes away. And the doctor, it's not a huge scar from it, but the doctor was like, it was either you got bit by a spider that was like a flesh eating, like a recluse or something,
right?
Like that. Or what happened was, this ponds are notorious for having like bacterial issues in the showers.
Oh, yeah.
So he said you could have gotten to something, scratched your leg by something else, got it in there, and you had bacterial infection.
Right.
So long. But that was terrible. So you never know what you're gonna get into. I mean,
I know. That's why I try to stay out of the woods in the summer. I mean, if I have to go in, hang deer stands, if I absolutely have to trap in the woods, I will. But otherwise, I stay out of there.
I do get weary about getting that grass.
Yeah.
Because that's where everything is. It's in that grass.
Yeah. Yeah, I stay out of it.
You get in there and you come out with all kinds of stuff on you. And you don't even realize it. Or the worst is when you do. Like when you come out and you can feel like the ticks climbing on you. Like, if I felt those, how many are on me that I didn't get, you know?
I know.
Yeah, they drive me crazy. I hate that so much. That's the worst by far. But
Yeah.
that's some of the best places to go now. That's why nobody else goes.
Yep.
Because they're too afraid of it.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that'll get you. Oh, that wound on my leg still has a scar, and it took forever.
You got lucky, man. Could have lost your foot.
Well, a lot of people, like, we had Anna's uncle. He had got scratched by a cat on his arm.
Oh, yeah.
And they say with cats,
Cat scratch fever.
a lot of weird stuff in their nails. Yep. And he went, and he couldn't stop messing with it. And then it became to the point where they had to, like, lance it open because it was so much like pus. And they just had to leave it open and, like, let it kind of heal. And they're like, there's just only so much we can do.
Right.
And hopefully it eventually just went. When I was growing up, too, we used to be in the water that was... Fisteria was what the fish got. Which you can get into... Like, if you run against a pylon, if you run against something that was like barnacles and algae, you would get, like, this flesh-eating bacteria sometimes on you. And you would see the guys, like the watermen that would get it, like, their arm would just be all scarred up.
Really?
Same kind of thing, like, it just lingers, doesn't go away. It just kind of, like, stays at that one level of annoyingness where you're scratching it and messing with it, and then it wouldn't go away. I got a little bit of that here and there growing up, but nothing really too crazy.
I'm always worried about getting bit. I mean, I have a catch pole, keeps them at bay, but, I'm always worried about, like, what happens if, I get bit by one or something.
There was a guy that worked with us that got bit by a raccoon that had rabies.
Oh, man, yeah.
And
those shots are not cheap
they
either.
gave him the shots, and then...
And they're like a couple grand a piece, I heard.
I'm trying to think exactly what happened. Like, he got bit by the raccoon. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember the story. I'm probably going to say it a little wrong. But he was definitely one of those guys that just, like they made him build a boxer in the back of his truck at work. Because there was, like, so much shit in the back of the truck because he would just catch animals there when he was a trapper.
Oh, okay.
And he was going to let this little raccoon out. And he presses down the truck to let the raccoon out, and the raccoon bites the shit out of him.
Oh, man.
So he grabs the raccoon, and he throws it in the back of the... throws it in the back of his truck, because it bites him. So then all of a sudden, he's not feeling... Like, he's, like, having all these problems, like, a week later. And they're like, I don't know, maybe I should go to the hospital. So he goes to the hospital or whatever. And they're talking to them in the hospital. And they're like, okay, well, we're going to give you these shots. We're going to do a test. Well, long story short, they're like, well, do you have the animals? Like, yeah, I got it in the back of the truck. He's been there for like 2 weeks and something, all like whatever bad. And he actually had a mild case of rabies.
No, I believe it.
Yeah, he actually started to have it. And I guess when the raccoon had it, it hadn't gestated all the way to be acting crazy.
Okay.
So he didn't think it had it, and then he wound up having it. It was like, I don't remember the story anymore, but he was saying like these symptoms, and you're like, oh my God, you have rabies.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
right.
Shit, so.
Yep.
Yeah. We were talking about the leg incident, the spider bite. That was awful. Awful. So, well, I think we're getting pretty close on time now, aren't we? Did you time us? We got a little bit longer left.
10 minutes.
10 minutes left. Okay, just do a time check on that one. Anything else you want to go over specifically?
No, if you're listening and you got coyote problems or you got raccoons or foxes, I'm always looking for new land to trap. And I always throw this out to people. You know, trapping, it's very controversial. A lot of people think that, you know, we're out there maiming animals, breaking legs, all that kind of stuff. It's not like that at all. I mean, trapping is more regulated than hunting now, you know. And so I always put that, you know, if anybody ever wants to ride along with me, you know, I'd love to take you if you want to learn, you know, because like I was pretty much self-taught. You know, like I got into it off YouTube, and you know, lately I've been going to, like, this year I hit a bunch of trapping conventions, and I mean, there's guys who have been out there doing it for, you know, 30, 40, 50 years, and they're just a wealth of knowledge. But I didn't really have that because when I started doing it, I didn't know anybody who did it. You know, I was all, you know, YouTube and everything, just trial and error. So if there's somebody out there who's interested, they want to learn more about it, you know, please contact me. You know, I'll definitely show you, you know, what I know. You know, I don't know a lot, but I could definitely, you know, I can catch red fox, that's for sure. So, you know.
Let me ask this: what got you into it?
So, I started out predator hunting. I got the Fox Pro, the red lights, the whole nine, and you know, there was this chicken Facebook page, Lovettsville chicken owners, and people were having problems with foxes, and I was like, hey, I can take out your fox for you. And it got increasingly to where, you know, with all the houses, man, you can't shoot. And people were like, well, what can you do, this, that, and the other? And I was talking to one of my neighbors about it, and he was like, well, back in my day, we used to trap them. And I was like, what do you mean you used to trap them? He's like, you know, we would run a trap line, we would trap them. And I was like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And so I just started researching it. I went out and bought a dozen dog proofs, set them up at a buddy's place in Lovettsville, just down a creek where I saw tracks. I mean, I literally knew nothing. I had a thing of cat food and a dozen dog proofs. Went down, next day came back, caught my first raccoon. And then from then on, it was just all downhill. I mean, it was just, now I probably have, if my wife is listening to this, cover your ears, I probably have like 7 or 8 dozen footholds. I got beaver traps. I got, you know, I got the groundhog. I mean, pretty much every trap out there I have. Started running snares lately. It's just so interesting because you really have to learn the animal, and there's so much to go after. You know, it's not like when you're deer hunting, you're just hunting deer. And I don't say that to be disrespectful because I know how hard it is to hunt a mature buck, but you could go after, like, you just take water, for example, otter, beaver, muskrat. I mean, right there, 3 different animals. You got to learn all their habits, where they're eating, where they're living, what their travel ways are, you know. And then you get into land trapping. You know, you got coyote, fox, bobcat, raccoon. You know, there's mink. There's just
Caught a mink?
I have not. It's on my bucket list, and I actually had one on camera. He just kind of like passed through. There's the farm I'm trapping now. There's a bunch of bridges and culverts, and I actually went. That's where they like to travel, is like bridges. And I went to a seminar on mink trapping this year. So I'm going to, once I think I've pretty much cleaned the place out of foxes and coyotes, I'm going to try to do some water trapping here in January and see if I can catch a mink, because that's definitely bucket list for me.
I've seen a couple over the years fishing in marshes.
Yeah.
You know, chocolate.
Yeah.
Running around.
Yeah, they're definitely around. I mean, one of my buddies up in Lovettsville, he was actually in a deer stand above a stream, and he saw one. I have a creek on my property. I've seen one. You know, they're around. And if you know how to catch them, like there's one guy I follow on Instagram. He's a really good trapper, but he tears up the mink up in Pennsylvania. I mean, he runs a specific mink line, and he just tears them up. It's really cool to see. So
I've seen him once or twice, like chasing something in the woods, like running after a rabbit. You see where he run by.
Yeah.
And then you see that mink. I mean, literally my whole life, like 3 times ever, I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Nothing but 2 times running water. Hey, Anna. Could you pick your mic up real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so Peter Dalton says you're a big liar.
I did not say that.
I was listening to you guys.
So, do you want to counter Peter Dalton's accusatory of your lying?
No, of course not. He knows more about all
No,
that.
it's not. It's not about. It's
Hold
not
on, really quick, very quick. Let me say that. Let me tell you something. Anna will sometimes lie to me to put me in bad situations that she thinks is funny. And I will go ahead and tell you a story that fits, dead in line with this. Okay? This is almost as if Anna fed this for me to bring up to you later. And you said, that's not true. Anna once told me, there you go. There's 2 types of foxes, right?
Gray and red.
Gray and red, right?
Yeah.
So if I said to you right now, red foxes are canine, like a dog kind of animal, and then a gray fox is a canine, is a cat, a feline animal. What would you think about that statement?
I mean, I think foxes are all canines.
It's not a cat, right?
No, but I will say some people say, and I might mix it up, but they say a fox it has dog hardware, cat software, basically, because they are kind of like when you see them pounce with their 2 front feet and all that kind of stuff. They have very cat-like characteristics, but they are part of the canine
that
family.
logic makes complete sense. I'm sorry. What if I told you that Anna told me that red foxes were dogs and that gray foxes were cats? And that's the difference between them. And I believe this story. And we went somewhere, and I was in a conversation with adult men, and they were talking, and I said, "Yeah, well, I mean, isn't a gray fox a cat?" Needless to say, no one else agreed with that opinion whatsoever. So when Anna tells me that
Possums eat
possums out there eating ticks, for all I know, it was a setup the whole
It was
time.
very, very entertaining when he said that.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was waiting until the day he got the opportunity to talk about it.
So don't feel bad for Anna and her shenanigans, because she will totally
Set you up. Well, no, it
Set you
is a
up
very
hard.
common belief, though, and like PETA actually has this flyer out that says like, "Don't kill me, I eat ticks," blah blah blah. It's very prevalent, And I get some people think like, "Oh, poor possum." I'm not a poor possum person. I know trappers who believe that, and they let them go. And so, like I said, and that just blows
Anna
my
had a
mind.
pet possum as a child.
I've heard they make good pets. I mean, there's guys who have like pet raccoons and everything. I don't know. Just because I trap them, I probably wouldn't have a pet one because I think if I had a pet one, it would probably ruin me. And then if I ever had to actually trap one and eliminate one, it would be.
So that goes back to the cow stories. So Anna's parents raised some cows, and there were a bunch of these cows. I was like, I don't want to see them. I don't want to pet them. I don't want to touch them. I don't want to feed them. I don't want anything to associate with them.
Right.
Well, it's basically impossible. You have to associate with something like that. So I thought that was a big problem. But I ate it. It's fine. Don't
Yeah.
bother me.
We have 2 cows. We named them T-Bone and Ribeye.
What did you name yours?
We had cheesesteak and steakums.
I mean, to be honest with you, it's the best meat we've had.
Oh, I'm sure. I
The ones
can't
that
wait
we
to
grew.
eat mine. And like we tell, I mean, my daughter rides with me on the trap line. Like she's very aware of like, and I believe this, like at a young age, like life and death. Like I don't sugarcoat things. If a chicken goes missing and there's feathers in the yard, sorry, fox ate it. I'm not the kind of parent that's going to go out and buy my kid another chicken to hide. That like, oh, this chicken just went to a different farm.
Well, you were telling us before that when you're out on the line, you give your dog a knife and let him finish off the animals, right?
No, I do not do that.
No. I know what you mean, though. Yeah, there's no point. There's no point in lying about it.
Yeah. So I mean, she knows like T-bone and ribeye, and she actually asked me the other day. She's like, "When are we gonna eat them?" And I was like, "We gotta wait another year." So she's already looking forward to it. I mean, we had a pig. We named the pig Rebel, and she knows like when we have bacon in the morning, like straight up, that's Rebel. Like we're eating him. So
That's I think it's part of life, though. I think
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to. Well, at least she understands it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
not this misconception where meat comes from.
right, exactly.
And then when we talk about it, this would be a whole slippery slope. But I'd much rather get a cow in the backfield than one of those paved lots they put them on.
Right, exactly.
That's part of it. So the possums don't eat ticks. Anna's lies. Now that we've covered that, that is the biggest part of it. I think one day we'll have to probably get the cameras out, the microphones, and walk around and do when you go to check your traps.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool to do.
Yeah, I'd love to have you all along. That'd be great.
Fun. Let people see the reality of it.
Yeah.
It can be like anything else. I'm sure there's rougher times, but I mean, it's part of life. I think there's not a lot of people trapping, and I think it's difficult. I think it's probably why people don't do it as much.
It's very very hard. And it's a lot of work. Like I think literally people think we just like throw a trap out in the field and an animal steps in it. Like I took one of my buddies along not too long ago and showed him how to set it, and he was like, just couldn't believe the amount of detail and work and everything that goes into it. And it's like you're literally, you look at like this 400-acre farm, and I am taking an animal that can run anywhere and getting them to step on a 2-inch circle. When you look down at that level of detail, it's actually incredible. Like that we do what we do.
You were saying too that You were going to share with us your recipe for groundhog pot pie.
Oh yes, yeah. That's
eating some of your groundhogs that you catch.
highly secret recipe that we may have to save for another time.
Have you ever eaten anything?
No, I haven't had groundhog. I have thought about it, and I have buddies who have eaten them, but I have not tried.
So
it
I think
yet.
out of the list of them, so if we're going to go with the, I was going to say I wouldn't eat the possum. Would eat ticks all day. But that's fake.
The possum pot pie.
I don't know. Possum, raccoon, groundhog.
I would eat groundhog
think
before I
groundhog
would
before.
anything else because they eat clover, dandelion.
It's
Like
a big rabbit.
yeah, I mean they're just like I always say they're like a small deer. It's just they live in a hole like a rat, so I would have a hard time. Like I don't know I don't know, but like raccoons and possums can eat like dead animals, if you will. Like if they find a gut pile in the woods, they're going like nose first, you know. That's why I like the groundhog idea because it's just dandelion and clover and corn. Like beaver's good.
You've had beaver.
I've had beaver. Beaver's good.
What it tastes like?
No, it didn't taste like chicken. Honestly, it tasted like deer. It's like
It was dark.
Yeah, and like kind of it's got that red like when you're like skinning out a deer and you cut the backstrap. That's what I did. I took the backstrap off the beaver. Delicious.
Beaver backstrap.
Yep.
Never would have thought about
Or
it.
you can put it in like a crock pot. Beaver's
What do they
really good.
eat?
Wood.
They don't eat the wood.
They do, man.
No.
Yeah, dude.
They
cut
cut
open
the-
their stomach. It's
they-
just like straight pine shavings in there, man. They eat the wood.
I thought they just cut the wood down to make
No,
stuff.
if you like, so they'll have like a lodge, and then they will cut down saplings and create a feed pile under the ice, so they can go from the lodge, get a piece of wood to eat on, swim back up in. You can actually bait them with pieces of wood. Like guys will get like a body grip trap, and they'll tie a fresh piece of wood, if you will, like a sapling, like I think they like willow and poplar. Tie that up to the trigger of a trap that they're gonna go after. You bait them with wood. They
never
eat
would've thought
wood.
that.
Yeah, they eat wood.
Because I just thought, because whenever you see it, you see the wood. And you see the shape of it.
I mean they build
So
it
you
out
would
of it,
think
but
that
they
they just
no
chop it
they
out.
they eat wood, man. Yeah, you can bait them with wood. Yeah.
Have you seen anything else in their stomachs when you cut them open?
No, it's just like it. Every time, like I've cut them open, like I think like it's just like wood shavings, man.
Well, how are they so fatty then?
They eat a lot of wood.
You would think they would be super lean if all they're eating is wood.
They eat wood though.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard.
I mean,
I didn't think they
good.
actually eat wood. I believe you.
I mean, I'm sure they eat like berries and twigs and leaves and stuff like that. But like, yeah, like
If you
want-
cut them open, the majority of it's wood.
yeah, I mean, they eat the wood. Yeah,
Well, I'd say bears. People think bears are the carnivorous monster. You cut them open.
it's just all berries.
Berries and whatever
yeah.
you can find.
But yeah, you could bait like a beaver trap with like a piece.
You ever
of
had a
wood.
bear
Like-
get in one of your traps and just destroy it?
So I have not, but there's a buddy of mine, Samuel Catterton. He's a nuisance wildlife control operator. Well, it's Catterton and Sons. He'd be a good one to have on the podcast. Actually, he's a good guy. He was actually just on the news doing a piece on trapping. Actually,
Oh, very
but
cool.
he has bears wreck his sets all the time. And then there are other guys who, because I mean, it'll snap on a bear's paw, especially if it's a small bear, and then you have to release the bear. Thank God I have not had to do that, but I've seen videos of it, and it does look intense.
So when you've seen it, are they aggressive or just terrified?
It's a little bit of both, you know. If it's like a smaller bear, I've seen guys where like mama bear's up on the hill like watching them. So there's like 3 or 4 guys trying to get this bear out of the trap. I've seen guys do it by themselves. I would definitely call for help though. I'm not trying to manage a bear by myself, man.
Well, I was watching Bear Grylls, and he was talking. You know, he was always like whistling and singing and doing shit in the woods.
The whole.
And somebody said, "Why do you do that?" And he was like, "When I was young, I didn't do that." And I walked in the woods one time, came over an edge. Downhill, there was a bear with like 3 cubs, and the mom ran off, and the cubs were just sitting there with me. And he was like, "I was like, shit, she gonna come back?" And he said, "I left him and walked off." And after that, I thought, I don't want to scare stuff, because people always think, "Oh, that mama bear is gonna fight to the death," but it seems like a lot of times they just run off and try to evaluate.
Maybe if it was a black bear, if it were a grizzly, I feel like he'd
Well,
be
that's
dead.
a whole other story.
Yeah.
Grizzly bear.
Yeah.
It just decides if you're dead.
I mean, they make those bear bells. I always used to make fun of my wife because we would go hiking and she wanted the bear bell. And I was always like of the opinion that it was going to scare the bear away, which I always made fun of her for. But it's actually just so the bear hears you coming so they know you're there. That way you don't, like you said, come around a corner and all of a sudden you're eye to eye with a bear and they freak out and then attack you. It's just the noise to let them know like you're
I've
in
seen
the
bears
area.
charge and guys are shooting them with 500 Smith & Wessons. They keep moving. I don't think the noise of the bell is
Bell.
frightening. No, but it's like
It's not frightening. It's just like,
Yeah.
hey, there's somebody here. Because if you're walking silently through the woods and you come around a corner and there's a bear there, if the wind's right or whatever, they wouldn't smell you. They wouldn't hear you. All of a sudden, there you are.
Every bear I've ever seen in the woods, I was amazed. They disappeared.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, they're really loud in the woods. I'm like, I never heard them. Their paws just,
Yeah, they're
they
quiet.
just were there. Like a deer. A deer's just a ghost.
Right.
Where the hell does this thing come from? The 2 bears I've ever seen in my life. Well, one we were doing a drive. Then he ran right towards us. We were like, oh, and he got 15 feet from us. And was like, oh, shit. And he ran off the other way. The black bear, nothing huge. And then
Right.
other times in the stand, he just wandered under.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, never heard him coming at all. They're such cool animals.
They are. Yep.
That's something I will hunt. We'll hunt a bear.
You should go with so my buddy Alex, he has 4 Alex, forgive me. They're like Siberian. They're called Laika, Laika, and he's got an Instagram account Laika Power, I think. He has treed 48 bears to date. 48 bears this season. And they're quiet on the ground, unlike hounds. And when they tree, that's when they bark. He brought him over from Russia. He's tearing up the bear. And I was supposed to go with him this year, but I had to go to Poland on work, so I missed my opportunity. But
48 bears.
he has
Where?
treed 48 bears. Virginia, West Virginia. He went down to North Carolina. Check out his Instagram. I'm pretty sure it's LAIKA_power, and he's killing it. Just four dogs.
There's a lot of negativity going online lately about dog hunting with bears.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that, and I fully support the hound hunters with the bear. Bear is such an elusive animal. You need the dogs. I truly believe
It's very
that.
controversial. I get both sides of it. Like I get it when the guys
yeah.
are like, "Hey, I don't want you bears on my property," and they're like, "But we're
Yeah.
chasing. I want your dog. But we're
Yeah.
chasing this bear. We'll recall your dogs. Well, it takes a minute for them to come back." I get it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you're in the middle of it. It crosses over into another huge vast of land.
Right.
I don't think to be honest with you, I don't have enough education on that side of it. Really have.
Yeah.
But I have been seeing a lot more about it online lately.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic right now, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it says we got to screw it up.
All right.
Okay, well, that's it. If you want to reach out to Peter about some animal trapping, or if you lost a child or something, he can catch for you. We can give you his contact info. A lot of people ask about it. They'll say all these problems, and then I'm like, oh, no, we got a guy. And they're like, oh, well, I don't know.
I'm used.
Where can people contact you?
So I have a Facebook and an Instagram. It's Hunt Country Wildlife Control LLC is it. If you go on the DWR website, like I said, I'm a nuisance commercial trapper, and if you just put in the zip code 20132 or around, you'll see I'm the only trapper in Percival, and I pop up on the list. So you can find me on the DWR website. You can find me Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff.
And I think the current price right now is $4.99 a pound for the possum meat. If you like it.
Yes. If you want some delicious pot pie, I'll cook it myself.
Well, I think that's all I got for today. Any comments you want to make?
No, I appreciate you having me on. Always good to talk trapping and everything else. So thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to do, like I said, we'll do a video where we go out and follow you around.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Next week, I think we're back to our normal schedule for a little bit. And then we'll do some other stuff. Oh, we didn't do a gun this week. Yeah, that's okay. We'll do a gun next week. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. You guys have a good New Year. Next time we get on, it'll be 2023.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. My bad, isn't it?